Good morning, and thank you for joining us for episode 2 of the H5 Inspired webinar series. I'm Seth Butte from NAU's Arizona Institute for Education and the Economy. We are once again excited to share the stories of creative and innovative solutions from and for our H5 partners. Today, we feature the story of how Tanque Verde High School transforms student planning and support by creating innovative system for college and career advising. Get ready to be inspired by their journey of empowering students to plot their paths to post-secondary success with confidence. If you have questions along the way, the Q&A is enabled. You can post them there, and we should have time to address those at the end of the presentation. And now I would like to introduce the principal of Tanque Verde High School, Dr. Amy Cislak.
Hello, thank you guys for tuning in. My name is Amy Cislak. I am the principal of Tanque Verde High School. This is my 5th year here. I've served as principal now for almost 15 years. This is my life. These are my people. Today is just like your favorite holiday, and so I am representing New Year's Eve. So this isn't normally how I accessorize that. You're welcome for such a swag. I wanted to share with you a little bit about our journey at Tanque Verde High School. We do some unique advising and some strategy beyond the classes that we offer, how we offer them, and kind of the intentionality that we have around what we and how we do things. I also have additional, if you hear about something that we did and you say, I want that handout, I want that presentation, I want that process, I'm happy to share everything we have. So I'm going to refer to a lot of things today, but if you hear of something you'd like, please let me know. So one of the challenges that we really had back to Tanque Verde is that there was a real lack of clarity around what we were doing. So I'll hop right to that. So I'm going to share with you kind of our journey to create pathways, what our goals are, kind of what that looks like, and how we do it. So what we have on our campus right now are what we call the pathways at Tanque Verde High School, and I'm going to share a little bit about that journey, what they are, and why they're important. Okay, so the big problem that we had is that we had tons of stuff. So our school is pretty small. We're almost 800 kids now, but when I got here 5 years ago, they only had 500 kids. But they had 56 singleton classes for 500 kids. It was mind-boggling. So to make a master schedule that actually served kids was impossible. Everything was offered once. There was all these specialty classes that were cool, but there was no rhyme or reason of how you get into them. Kids would find out junior year that a program that they wanted to get into that they didn't meet any of the prerequisites. It was just chaos. Most of the CTE and advanced placement teachers were teaching 3, 4, 5 preps, co-registered. It was a lot, and it wasn't functional, and so we had to really look at those things. So those are kind of our first two problems. And then there was just a lack of clarity. Less than 50% of our kids that year could tell me why they were at the school, what they wanted to do, what their goals were when they graduated. And that was just unacceptable to us. So we said, we have to make some changes here. Okay, so what did we do? So in the spring and fall of 2021, I created a business advisory council. This advisory council has been invaluable. So I kind of call these my secret cabinet members. I still meet with them every 4 to 6 weeks. I share what we're doing. I ask for their feedback. I ask about pivots and challenges that they're seeing in the local market in Tucson. I should have said that earlier. We're in Tucson in the far northeast region. But I'm constantly asking, what do we need to do? How do we need to pivot? And sometimes things remain the same, but sometimes they come up with some ahas that are really helpful for us. And so that drove us to seeing like, what do people actually want our kids to be able to do when we graduate? as I'm sure all of you know, like we have an idea as an educator what we should be doing and what needs to happen, but it also lends a great deal of credibility to when we try to make big moves in our schools to have the backing of these business council members. I also had some deans from the University of Arizona on that group. So then the next stage is that I did a strategic advisory. So I brought in a parent who actually owned a strategic vision and planning company. And we had over 50 parents, teachers, students, alumni, business members, university partners to collaborate for this vision. It was an all-day event on a Saturday. It was super helpful so that we could really hear the values that we assumed our community had, but really put it in writing. We put in all of that data, we made an infographic, and then we made some implementation based on what they really wanted. So some of the things that they really said in this community impact. So I've got three different screens going on, so I apologize. I'm going to look off to a third. You can't see me. Is that they really wanted and needed clarity. So we had to find ways to enhance what we were doing so that it made sense, so that families knew as early as sixth grade what they could be planning for if they wanted to stay in our school district and what they had to look forward to. We did create strategic four-year planning to ensure that students, and by four-year planning, that's for kids, not the school, is that each kid has a strategic plan based on their interest inventory needs, their desires, their goals, and even just things that they're curious about. And our counselors make those individually with each one of our students. They also had a demand that we have elite programming. They wanted to make sure that even though they recognized these 56 plus singleton classes was not realistic or reasonable, they still wanted to make sure that we had elite programming for our students to reach their goals. What's interesting about our school in particular is that over 90% of our students are choosing to go to a four-year university. However, even within that population, we have a lot of what I refer to as blue collar wealth in our school district. So we have a lot of families that own construction and industry businesses, and there's an expectation that their children are going to take over the family electrical business, the family tile business, the family air conditioning business. So there's a strong desire for their children to not only go to college to learn business, and some of those skills, but they also wanted them to have opportunities on campus for CTE and technical classes where it was hands-on. And so that presented a unique but really cool challenge of making sure that our CTE classes supported those goals as well. And then our families still wanted this opportunity where kids can do everything. They want them to be able to play sports and be in fine arts and take CT and do dual enrollment and have a job and blah, blah, blah. So we had to really protect that culture where families didn't want kids to get pigeonholed in one track or another and be able to do lots of things. Okay, so what did that look like? So these are, if you go to our website, and I can drop that to share that as well, you'll be able to see what our pathways look like. So we have four distinct pathways. We have one in STEM, we have performance and design, honors college. I can talk a little bit about that, as well as liberal arts. So these are careers that with our business council, we felt like we could really hone in on at a real strategic level on our campus to provide programming for our students. We're really careful to explain to families that these are not locked in. It's not like a college major that you once you say I'm interested in the STEM agri-science pathway, that's what you have to do. These are essentially just planning guides so that students can see and make those accommodations. So if a student thinks I want to be a veterinarian, we can give them a prescribed recommended four-year plan based on that as their core value, and then enhance it with other electives and strategic courses for their interests, because maybe they want to be a vet, but they also want to be in band. And so we have to make sure we make those arrangements. And so on our website, we have real strategic four-year plans that are starting point for students in all of these. There's certainly still a choose your own adventure plan that we can do for students if there's something that they want to do that we don't have specifically defined in a CTE course or program to support that. But these are really where we start at. Also, when you look on our website, you'll also be able to see that we have an updated industry track and and data that is updated quarterly, showing where employers in the Southwest are hiring, what careers are in the most demand, what skills are in the most demand, so that when our families visit this site, they can see, some of these courses, like we're not cranking out band majors to change the world. We want kids to be in band, and I don't want to diminish that. But we still had to make sure that even though we're really focused on making sure we celebrate and promote careers that are lucrative and that need highly skilled laborers, we also want to make sure we're supporting some of those core values and interests as well. And so I think that's always the balance with high schools, that we want to make sure kids can still pursue passions, even if it doesn't mean it's going to be part of their career. Um, Okay, so this is just a little bit about some of the stuff that we're doing. So another group that I'm really involved in right now is the National Education Leaders Symposium and sharing this planning aspect. And I'm happy to share a little bit more of that, but we're doing a lot with AI as well as planning. I'm gonna skip through that one. Um, and so the other thing I wanted to share with you is like, how do we make these decisions about what programs we offer, what courses we offer? Initially, after we wrote this grant, we knew that we needed to make it easier on teachers as well as families. If we want kids to take AP Bio, it can't just be offered one period a day. It needed to be offered at least 3 periods a day. And so all of our advanced placement classes, with the exception of BC Calculus, are offered at least twice, hopefully third. The same with our CTE. And this was expensive the first year because remember, we had less than 600 kids. And so we knew the only way we're going to get kids to be able to take these classes, and they said they wanted to, but be able to fit it in their schedule, was to offer it more than once. And so we have been very successful, and we continue to be in writing grants. And it was about a $200,000 investment in grants to hire additional teachers and staff. That maybe the first year their classes were teeny tiny until we grew into the capacity for the programming that families wanted. But I think, when we explain this to our stakeholders, there's a lot of aspects. I think one of the other big things that is important that I wanted to share with you is that my counselors spend a great deal of time doing academic advising and coaching, and bringing brown bag lunch from lecture series and employers on campus. But one of the things that my counselors do not do is they do not build the master schedule, and they don't do schedule changes, because we feel that that really takes away from their talents and meeting with kids. So our master schedule is built by myself and my assistant principal. We actually coded a master schedule builder about 8 years ago when we were at a previous school together, that we used for our master schedule, that I'm happy to share with you if you'd like to see it. But we found that when counselors were having conversations with kids about, I want to drop this class, I want to be with this person, I want to be with that person, unless it really specifically had to do with their college and career goals, it was just a huge waste of their time. And then I don't want my counselors having to make those judgment calls about kids that for lack of a better expression, of lame reasons of why they want to drop out of classes. Once it's determined that a student doesn't want to be in a program because of a social emotional concern, academic concern, they will recommend to our administrative team for the schedule change, and then we handle it so that our counselors do not have to make those choices or decisions. But it also does not pull them away from using precious time to talk about college and career with those students. And so that's something that's I did at my last school as well. I just don't. It's hard because administrators don't always do that, but I think it's really also saved a lot of our counselor time, and they're able to dedicate a lot more time and resources to spending a minimum of twice per year per kid talking about their college and career goals, updating their strategic plan, providing them incentives and opportunities so they can explore, because that's been a core value of ours. So that's kind of the big overview that I wanted to go over with you. Seth and I were chatting that we wanted to have some time for you to ask questions or throw in comments or thoughts or things that you wonder about, so that we can continue that discussion.
Do you prefer questions in the chat box, or can I just ask one?
Go right ahead.
Yeah, we're small enough.
How many of these courses did you already have before you did your community input and all of that? I'm looking at your courses, and we could already take what we're offering and just put it into
Yeah.
yours because they're very similar.
Yeah,
So I just wondered how much change did come out of all that work, and I appreciate all of that work. I really do that.
sure.
That's a big deal.
So we eliminated 9 CTE programs, which we had 15 CTE programs for 500 kids. So it sounded cool on paper, but anybody who's built a schedule knows like that sounds like it ended up being kind of garbagey. Like our kids didn't have a great CTE experience, and our teachers looked like their hair was on fire by the end of the first week. I mean, it was just brutal. So actually, we cut CTE programs pretty tremendously, and we did it based on student interest. I'm happy and willing, and our board will support me offering a class of 5 kids if need be, but we don't want that to be our practice. So we save that for special onesie, twosie occurrences. We really said if we cannot get 25 kids in our first year program, it's not going to go because then we're going to have attrition in the second and third year. So we let kind of student interest be part of that natural selection for CTE. What we did add is we've added 15 advanced placement programs in 3 years and 3 dual enrollment programs. We saw so many students on their own taking like AP Environmental Science, which is a really cool elective. Kids love it. And so I'm like, if I have 30 kids taking this on their own online, let's just hire a teacher and teach it. So that's where we've added is with AP and dual enrollment. And we did cut, but I feel like it was a good cut because then it allowed the programs that are the most um, that students have the most interest in to really thrive. And so I think that was one of the things that I would recommend that was really scary is that coming in brand new and then saying we're gonna cut what we have. And a lot of it was funsy stuff. I mean, we had a lot of culture classes, which I think are really important because you need to have things that do feel good and contribute to your culture. But that was most of the curriculum was a lot of feel good stuff that wasn't necessarily showing positive results on TSAs or that it was actually whetting a student's appetite for a career. And that's a problem. Like marketing, for example, none of the kids in marketing wanted to go into marketing. They just thought it was fun. Like, this is a bummer. And I think if you have a great marketing can be a really great class for our school. It wasn't. That's something that we might consider in the future pivoting, but it was really important that we couldn't just have all fun. Like film and TV is our fun class. I would argue all of them are fun, but that's kind of the kind of the one that most of the kids probably aren't going into TV or film. And so I think just striking that balance is really important.
You mentioned that you had CTE teachers teaching like 3 to 5 preps.
Hmm.
Was that because they were teaching multiple programs? Because even if they're doing one program, I assume they're still doing like Stagecraft 1, Stagecraft 2, Stagecraft 3, or
Correct. So, for
only
example,
one.
we had a teacher doing digital media and photography and mechanical drafting and film. And I'm like, and so unless you can get, Harry Potter's Time Watch, he just had all of his classes co-registered. And so kids were not having a real unique experience from year to year or program to program. And so we don't have any co-registered programs on our campus any longer. And sometimes it's a necessity, it's a financial need, or if you have 2 kids that want the third year program and they're really cool kids, you throw them in with the second year, but it just wasn't contributing to the experience that we wanted. And so we've really, we said, if, pick a lane. We have a couple teachers, like my agriculture and my precision machining teacher is insane. He's on a 9/5 contract. Um, I don't recommend that, but he thinks it's awesome. He does a 0 hour and then he has an after school class. But those classes have a lot of overlap and he loves it. But in general, it's really, I think, unhealthy and it's not a great way to get the most out of your teachers. But I understand sometimes it's a financial, concern. You just gotta make it happen.
Hey, Amy, thanks for doing this. Appreciate it, getting an insight into that. I have a question about your kind of honors college thing. You mentioned that as
Yeah.
one of the pathways. What does that look like?
So right now we do have a pathway that we recommend that if you're interested in going to a private, highly selective or honors college, that it's a recommended pathway that you approach. The other thing that we're doing is that we do have a partnership with the W.A. Frankie Honors College at the University of Arizona. And we have right now one course starting next year, two courses that students can take that they will get honors college credit for at the University of Arizona. I was sharing with Seth earlier, our primary dual enrollment partnership is with Pima Community College. The benefit of that is that our students get free dual enrollment. Um, it's a little trickier because then, of course, in order for your teacher to teach it, they have to have the perfect master's degree. Almost all my teachers on my campus have a master's or doctorate, but very few have the right master's or doctorate to teach the dual enrollment class. And so it's really tricky. When we've done some other partnerships with the University of Arizona with like Engineering 102 is another one. They're a little bit more forgiving of your teacher not having the right master's degree if they can show proficiency and they're willing to oversee the process of that class. So that's just something to consider. The challenge with the University of Arizona is that it's very expensive. So we're paying about $650 a kid for that honors college class. But what's neat about it is that most of the kids taking it are kids that likely will get into the UA Honors College and do. We cannot say, according to my MOU, that they will get automatic admission. However, it speaks highly of them to do the program. And they're typically kids that have the portfolio of classes and grades that they're going to get in anyway. But we do have a large group of students that every year are applying to private, highly selective universities. And so we start that pipeline early, knowing like you need 3 to 4 years of a world language. You need to take at least 4 years of a science. You need to take at least half of the AP offerings that we have. You don't have to do them in every subject area, but you need to show so that when they get our school profile, they see that you've done a considerable number. So we like to advise that pretty early with them. And another part of that is that statistically, if your students are taking an AP class and passing the exam their freshman or sophomore year, that's the greatest indicator that they're going to go and graduate in college on time. For what it's worth. I mean, not every kid's going to do that. But so if we have students that are interested and capable and feeling like they have the bandwidth to do that, we like to make that known in 8th grade and sometimes even 7th grade so that they can plan for that and then have a really great experience. But Ethan, I can talk to you more about that because I think after this pilot, U of A would really like to expand it. So right now it's with BCI, which is a bachelor's in creative intelligence with the University of Sydney, Australia. And so it's being co-taught by a professor from Sydney. There's been a lot of challenges learning. You have to, go through your own district and your own school board and then the Board of Education. And now you have to go through another country's Board of Education. And we've had to, even though they speak English, we have words for everything that's a little bit different. But I think we figured out the pathway and they're really excited and would like more high schools to do this. It's pretty cool. And so that course in particular that we offer is called Problems to Possibilities. Students spend the whole first semester learning how to kind of undo traditional education and how they think about problems in the community. They have to identify problems that they would like to change either in their own school, in Tucson. I mean, it can be in the whole world if they want. And they use kind of a more an engineering approach that's cross-disciplinary, looking at different types of interest and courses to solve, and they create a research proposal to fix it or a solution to that problem. Some of them can be implemented. Like we have some kids that have some really cool ideas about our next bond election, and so they're doing some research around that, and that probably will be implemented. But then, we have a student that her research is going to be surrounding a collaborative approach to end vaping. And so that's probably not something we're going to take care of by May, unfortunately. And so, but you don't fail if you can't implement it. It's the process. And you also don't fail the class if your projects or your presentations fail. It's about the process. And I think that part's pretty cool.
Amy, I have a question for you.
Sure.
So I think you said you were at Tanque Verde for about 5 years.
Yeah.
Okay. So in the process of defining the pathways for students and then switching to where you and your AP do the scheduling and schedule changes to allow
Mhm.
the counselors more time for the advising, what have you seen like positive gains? Do you have anything that's
Yeah.
quantifiable from that?
So I try to hire people at all costs that are massively more intelligent and talented than I am in everything else. And so I found that when counselors were meeting with students about their schedule changes in the master schedule, I was meeting about with them for their social emotional concerns and how to network other challenges. And I'm like, I can do that, but that's not my jam. And so it's like I hired these really incredible counselors that are really good at it. And so I need to take paperwork and bureaucracy off their plate that I'm better suited to do so they can be with the kids. And we try to do that at all costs. So that part was really positive, is that our counselors have more availability to do what they're really good at. And then it's not a big deal for me to do a schedule change, but I would rather have them with kids. So that part was a little bit different. I think teachers also appreciated it because counselors sometimes don't have a great connection with teachers. It's kind of, they're in the office and counselors and teachers are teaching, and it's hard. And I want our teachers and our counselors to feel like they're on the same page and they're not advocating against each other, where sometimes it can be with the teachers like, well, this counselor's telling kids not to take my class or is letting kids out and this and that. And so now they're on the same playing field and they can be a lot more collaborative with one another, and they're on the same team. And then if I have to be the bad guy, I'm the bad guy, not the counselors, which I think hurts relationships if teachers can't trust counselors indefinitely.
That's cool. That's really important. I appreciate that.
Mhm.
Does anyone else have any questions that you'd like to try to have answered right now before we wrap up?
You're welcome.
I'm gonna check the Q&A, see if anything's posted. Nothing posted there. That's all right. Last call for questions. All right. If anything comes up, I
Yeah,
will have
it
I'll
is. And
have
if
a link.
anyone, yep, wants to go through Seth or me, I have the script for our strategic plan. The woman that did it really loves the train the trainer model. And so if you're interested in doing something like that in your community, I have the script so you don't have to hire someone potentially, and I can share that with you, as well as some of those processes around just kind of how we make those decisions. I'm happy to share.
Great. Thank you very much for presenting today, Amy.
You're
I'm
welcome.
sure everybody learned at least something here. I know I learned a lot. I have 2 pages of notes.
You
All
must
right.
write big. Okay.
It's funny. All right, so that's it for today. Thank you so much for tuning in, and we'll be back in January with 2 more episodes. Everyone,
Thanks,
happy
guys.
holidays, everyone.
Take care. Bye.
Bye bye.